What if you were listening to it with racists?
And the mental gymnastics have kicked off. And the thing about this is that he's a roaster at a roast versus a public political campaign rally in Madison Square Garden. However, Kama, we'd like to shift into white history they don't teach you. Since, everybody's complaining about a White History Month because there's a Black History Month, even though Black History Month originated as Black History Week amongst Negroids, was hijacked by the government and then mandated so they could control the narrative and omit things like there was a Nazi rally, a whole Nazi rally where they were flying American flags, Confederate flags, and Nazi flags, right? And everybody can see a Nazi flag as anti-Semitic, but when it's against Negroes or people of color, all of a sudden everybody play dumb, right? It's anti-Semitic, but then it's anti-blackness, everybody else, that nobody sees it. But nonetheless, that Nazi rally was covered in a documentary back in 2017, and that happened in the 30s. But when you fast forward to the 60s, George Wallace, the governor of Alabama, who was basically the arch nemesis of MLK and the whole civil rights movement, is still ongoing because so is Jim Crow, ironically. But he was the one that said, integration would lead to procreation in a new mongrel race called mulattoes. And just to let everybody know that mulatto is not a race. It's barely an ethnicity, because it's really Negroids. That's how, again, the water fountains. There was no biracial, Creole, multi-race, none of that. If you got caught, even if you were passable, if you got caught drinking out of the whites only, you could be strung up. This is the history that they omit. And that's why they have a confusion when it starts repeating itself in present day. They're really confused. Like, why don't you just stop for the cops and comply? Why don't you just show them your ID when it's a total stranger on the street? Why don't you you understand? Y'all been doing this to Negroes for centuries, and y'all just think of how in the context of from today moving forward, because you don't have a history of discrimination, abuse, racism, etc.
REX